tell you an experience that I had recently involving one of our family law divorce clients. And it intersects with a common question that we get in terms of determining what's community property and what's separate property under Idaho law. This individual comes in, and this individual has a fairly significant inheritance that was received from his parents. And that inheritance was then used to acquire some large and significant assets during the course of the marriage. And the question then came as to whether or not anything that he had done during the marriage, particularly adding his spouse to the title on some of these significant assets, had made a difference in terms of changing the character of the asset from separate property to community property. And he was really concerned because his spouse's attorney was telling him that that there was some issue, some question as to whether or not his separate inheritance property had been turned into community property during the marriage. That was the message that was coming from his spouse's attorney. Yeah, it could be community property instead of separate property. Well, I was able to open up for him some relevant case law from a document that I had, and I showed him that case law. I didn't just sit there and say, well, take my word for it. This is the way that the law is. I opened up that document with the case law in it and showed him and explained to him that in marriage, you have the date of the marriage, and everything prior to the date of the marriage is presumptively separate property. Everything after the date of the marriage is presumptively community property. But inheritance is always separate property unless it is intentionally changed. Like the purpose of it is to change it from separate to community. Simply adding someone to the title of property that was acquired with separate inheritance funds does not change the character of the title of the property from separate to community. It stays separate property. And when I showed him that document with that case law and walked it through with him, then he was like, wow, okay, I understand, I see. And that was able to, and I was able to, in doing that, resolve his concerns and his fears. But then the kicker was, in the end, I showed him who produced the document that we were looking at. It was his spouse's attorney.